Here we go. Perfect. All right. Okay. So finally, after like three different attempts, after like three different cracks at it, obviously this I'm trying to still figure out the streaming kinks for myself. But let's get into it, man. Pavy daily takes. So let me try to find some better light. So I don't know if you guys have been following me on Twitter or if you guys have been, looking at my Twitter today. But if you have, I put up a top five perimeter defenders list. And I just want to talk about that list for you guys. I also want to talk about some other, defenders in the league that I think are, really good defenders that, maybe don't get their just due. So first of all, starting off, I think the whole topic started when just discussing Klay Thompson's defense. Look, this is not a bashing Klay Thompson thing. Obviously, Klay Thompson is a very, very good defender, but he's a very good defender. And I think that sometimes when people speak about Klay's perimeter defense, they talk about him like he like Tony Allen, and that's what I tweeted at first. I was like, "Yo, shout out Klay Thompson. Got mad respect for Klay Thompson. Soldier, warrior, no pun intended." But when it comes to perimeter defense, like yes, he's good. He knows how to play his position. He's no doubt a great defender. But people legit talk about that man like he's Tony Allen defensively, and I just can't get down with that. So that led me to doing my own little perimeter defenders list, and this is the list that I came up with. Feel free to disagree. Drop some in the chat if you disagree. Granted, it was only 5 spots, so if they didn't make these 5 spots, that does not mean that I think you can't play defense and that you suck. I think that's what sometimes people get confused. When people do like top five lists or any type of list, is that like if they're not on this list, then that must mean that they suck. I think that that's just like what Twitter is. Twitter is like either you're the best ever to do something or like you're terrible, and there's no type of in between. So I just want to get this out of the way. Like whoever's not on my list, that does not mean I think they aren't a good defender. I just don't think they're one of the top five best defenders in the league. So, with no further ado, I will start with my honorable mention. Honorable mention, I had Lonzo Ball. Um, Honestly, I want to put Lonzo on the list. I actually think Lonzo probably, if I think about point guard defenders, defenders at the point guard spot, he might be the best in the league. The issue with Lonzo is just availability. He's for the most part never there. He's played like what, barely 82 games in 2 seasons, so I can't put you on the same level as the other guys, even though I want to. Like I saw how the Lakers defense looked last year when Lonzo was at the helm. I saw how it looked, and I saw how it looked when Lonzo wasn't there last year. So I think that this year will be the year that Lonzo can really, prove himself. I think Lonzo has a chance to be a guy who can go out there and get you, 2 steals a game, get you a block a game, get you 7 rebounds a game, get you even some offensive rebounds, maybe like 2 or 3 offensive rebounds as well. And the thing about, defense is that it's not you're not done with that possession until you secure the rebound. So rebounding has to go in when you talk about defense. You're not done with that possession until you get a rebound, which is also why I think Steph Curry is an underrated defensive guard. Okay, he's not gonna go out there and like lock anybody down. He's not gonna strap anybody up, but he plays his position pretty well. He can play the passing lane pretty decently, and he's a very good rebounder for his size. And again, a possession isn't over until you go out there and secure that defensive rebound. The possession is not over. So that's that. Again, I think Lonzo will have a chance to come out this year, especially with the Pelicans. I mean, you got him and Jrue Holiday in the same backcourt. Like that's pretty much hell for opposing backcourts. Like I think that that is probably the best defensive backcourt in the NBA when I look around right now. I'll probably have to say Jrue Holiday and Lonzo Ball. Okay, but moving on to my list. Number 5, I have Patrick Beverley. Pat Bev is a guy who I don't necessarily think that technically wise, like when it comes to being technically sound at defense, he's the best defender, but I think he's by far the most annoying defender in the league. Like I think that when you play against Pat, you know that you're in for a long night. He gonna push you, he gonna grab you, he gonna be in your face, he gonna be nasty, he gonna talk to you, he gonna make you feel him. Yeah, he gonna play like Pat Bev still plays like he on the West Side playing at Marshall, and he don't have no money. He trying to get a look, and that's the way he plays defense. He plays defense kind of like with that Tony Allen type vibe. But Tony Allen like played defense like he was still poor on the West Side of Chicago, and that's how Patrick Beverley plays. So that's how I. So that's why I put Patrick Beverley at my 5 spot. again, I don't necessarily think that. I think they're more better, technically sound defenders. Like Klay is probably a more technically sound defender than Patrick Beverley, but Patrick Beverley just brings something to the game that you can't teach. Like Pat Bev is again just annoying. He's a pest. He's a guy that you don't want to see. If I line up against Pat Bev, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have a long night. I was shout out Urkel. We was on Twitter arguing. He was like, oh, he's dirty. Well, if they don't call it, is it really dirty? He toes the line consistently. Like even when, he hurt Russ, in the playoffs a couple years back. I didn't think it was a dirty play. I mean, was it a little bit OC and unnecessary? Yes, it was. Like they did blow the whistle. You didn't have to dive for the ball, but you play into the whistle. That's how he's been taught to play basketball from however long. You play into the whistle. Pat Bev don't mean no harm. He's just from the West Side. So again, Pat Bev is my number 5 spot. There's really nobody that's as far as like people who can inspire a team defensively. I don't know if anybody in the league can inspire a team defensively the way Patrick Beverley inspires a team defensively. Even the fact that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George will be on the Clippers, I still think the inspirational leader of the Clippers defensively will be Patrick Beverley. I think that he'll set the tone most nights for that team defensively. And again, moving along, Marcus Smart is at my number 4. Marcus Smart is at my number 4 because he's kind of pretty much the same thing with the Celtics. Like he sets the tone for that team defensively. Like I think that last year I would say actually Al Horford was the most important player offensively. I think, and I think that defensively Marcus Smart is the most important player for this basketball team. So, and again, he's like another guy who you can pretty much stick anywhere. You can stick him on the 1. You can stick him on a Kyrie Irving. You can have him in the post on LeBron or Giannis. You can go out, have him get around a screen, go check a Klay. He's very very versatile. And again, this is perimeter defenders. This is not defenders in the league. This was defenders in the league. Obviously, Draymond would be on my list. Gobert would have to be on my list. It'd be a little bit of a different list, but this is perimeter defenders. So I'm really going with guards and wings in this on this list. But yeah, Marcus Smart. He's like another one of those guys who I think what he does every game can't really be quantified by the stat sheet or by his defensive numbers. Even when he missed a couple games, and that not of all time, just this season, like right now in the NBA, not of all time. Again, if it was all time, it'd be like my all-time list would probably be just getting off track a little bit. My all-time list would probably be as far as perimeter defenders, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. I gotta go Kawhi Leonard. I gotta go Sidney Moncrief, and I'm gonna go Dennis Rodman if I was going all time. But back to my point. Marcus Smart. I don't think what he does can be quantified by the stat sheet. Like even when he was missing in the Bucks series, that's why I thought that not no Bruce Bowen. I mean, who you gonna take off for those people, bro? Like you taking Michael Cooper off, you taking Dennis Rodman off, you taking Scottie Pippen off, you taking Sidney Moncrief off. Shout out Bruce Bowen, but that man was kicking people in the face, G. I'm sorry. GP is honorable, but I'm gonna still go Sidney Moncrief. They created the Defensive Player of the Year award basically to honor guys like Sidney Moncrief. So shout out Sidney Moncrief. But again, I don't think that you can quantify Marcus Smart's effect on that team defensively by looking at the stat sheet. I think he's the heart and soul of that Boston team defensively, and I think that he will continue to show that. And I think that actually him and Kemba will be a very underrated defensive backcourt. I mean, even just watching FIBA, I like how Kemba throws his body in there, takes charges, and always seems to just be in the right position defensively. And I think that actually, people can say what they want to about, the America and FIBA competition, but I think this will springboard the Celtics to a pretty good season, man. I think with a couple moves, they could possibly make a finals run. It would be a long shot, but I think with a couple moves, they probably got to get a big man, like maybe a backup big rim protector. But they could really make a run, I think, if they get a couple more pieces. Next up on my list, sorry about that. Next up on my list, Jrue Holiday. I think Jrue Holiday is a guy who consistently gets underrated. I think that him playing against Dame 2 years ago in the playoffs was kind of like his coming out party. That people finally realized, like, oh shit, like this is Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday, ain't nothing to play with. Jrue Holiday ain't no game. But I think he's been a quality defender. I mean, pretty much for the duration of his for most of his career. I think that will continue. Again, I think having him and Lonzo in the backcourt is, I mean, I think by far the best defensive backcourt in the league. I think that they pose problems for like that backcourt at least for the foreseeable future. Maybe not, this year because I don't know if I don't know how many games they'll win this year. Just them being a young team. Also got to worry about injury. But that backcourt and that team could be one of the best defensive teams of all time. I think Zion should be one of the best defensive players that we've seen in this generation. I think he could be like a more athletic version of Draymond Green, defensively at least. I love Jackson Hayes. They also have Derek Favors. You got Brandon Ingram there. He's a pretty good defender. But again, Jrue Holiday mixing that in with Lonzo Ball. I think that Holiday. I don't know if Holiday was first team this year, but I think next year, barring injury, he'll definitely be all defensive first team, and he'll deserve it. I think that him and Zoe can make it extremely tough for any backcourt. Like even if it's Russ and Harden trying in there. I mean, look, we got Jrue. We got Jrue for Harden, and we got Zoe for Russ. So again, I got to give Jrue Holiday his props. I saw what he did against Dame 2 years ago. Even when Harden was on that crazy 50-point, not crazy 50-point, but that crazy 30-point per game streak. Yeah, he got it on Jrue, but Jrue made it very, very difficult. And Jrue is very good with defending without fouling, which I think is one thing that's pivotal and very, very important, is being able to defend without fouling. So at the number 3 spot, I gotta go Jrue Holiday. Number 2 spot, I gotta go Paul George. I think that Roberson being hurt last year, PG had to take that extra step defensively. I also think that's probably what cost him his shoulder and why he had to have shoulder surgery, just because he had to go out there and guard the best player every single night. Whereas that probably would be more so Roberson's job if Roberson wasn't hurt last year. Jesus is hot in here. But yeah, that would probably be Roberson's job if Roberson wasn't hurt last year, but he was. So again, I mean, top 3 defensive player of the year voting? I mean, do I really have to say more than that? So I got Paul George number 2. At my number 1 spot, I got Kawhi Leonard. I mean, obviously, I think Kawhi Leonard's defense has maybe slipped from where it was a couple of years ago, but I think that's because he has more offensive responsibilities now, not because he can't play defense, or not because he forgot how to play defense. I just think that, obviously when you have more offensive responsibilities, you just physically can't usually exert the same level of energy defensively, which is also why, I even think PG, even though I said, he had to put in more energy defensively, I think he still could have that effort in defensively because you had a guy like Russ going out there and getting you a triple-double every night. So I know that it may seem like Paul George might have been the primary scorer, but you have another guy going out there and getting you 10 rebounds, getting you the bulk of your team assists, and still giving you 22 points on top of that to allow PG to have the energy to, maybe he doesn't have to go out there and get 10 rebounds. Like, yeah, he got 7, but that's not 10. Also somebody who can go out there and set him up. A lot of his shots were catch and shoot off of Russ penetration. So obviously with Kawhi, he's a little more of an isolation player. It takes a little bit more energy. So we just can't go out there and physically just guard the best perimeter player for 48 minutes because, I mean, nobody has 99 stamina, and it just doesn't work like that. But I still think Kawhi is the best defender in the league. I think that there's really nobody else. If I need one stop for my life, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi Leonard, to me, is still the best defender in the NBA. Well, perimeter defender in the NBA. Overall defender, I would probably say toss-up between Draymond and Kawhi, I would probably say. Draymond, when he's locked in, is like a middle linebacker out there. It's like having a Bryant, like having a Ray Lewis, like having a Von Miller on your team. To really quarterback that defense when he's locked in, when he's looking like he was looking in the playoffs last year. Like everybody talks about Klay's defense on Dame or Iggy's defense on Dame. I'm talking about Draymond when they would switch off on screens, and usually Dame would be able to switch off and get the man and attack him. But Draymond is attacking Dame like he's the offensive player and pushing Dame back and pretty much making Dame a defender and making Dame react to what Draymond is doing. So again, like when he's locked in, I still think Draymond is arguably the best defender in the league. It's arguable with Kawhi, but again, Kawhi is still Kawhi. But that's my list. I know some people are gonna disagree with it. Say AD is a better defender than Draymond. In some aspects of defense, yes. I think AD is a great and versatile defender, but I don't know if I'm gonna give him better than Draymond right now, man. Like Draymond, even with Draymond's communication, I think Draymond's probably the best communicator in the league. Like a lot of defense is communication. That's why I'm so high on PJ Tucker's defense because I think Tucker's one. Even when I was watching the USA basketball video, they was like at camp, and all you heard was like Tuck just talking. Like I don't know if AD is that same kind of presence on the court when it comes to communicating with everybody. So I can't give AD that yet. Now, AD has a chance to show it. I think the Lakers should be a top 5 defensive team this year. I think the Lakers need to be a top 5 defensive team to go anywhere that they want to go. But I can't give AD that over on Draymond right now. I just can't. Now, I know what the numbers say. Like, yeah, he's going to get more blocks. He's going to get more steals. But blocks and steals aren't always a great barometer of defense. I don't think just because you average 2 blocks a game, that means you're a great defender. It means you probably jump at a lot of shots. Also, you probably end up out of position because you jump at everything and you leave your feet too soon. Also, sometimes guys who lead the league in steals aren't the best on-ball defenders. It just means you played the passing lanes very well. Like, Harden has always been pretty much near the top of the league in steals. Now, I think that this year Harden's defense improved. I think that Harden's one of the best post defenders for a guard in the league. I also think that he's definitely taking it up on himself to step up defensively. But I still wouldn't consider him an elite or great defender. But I do think he should have been on the all defensive team when you look at his defensive numbers, the all defensive second team, and if you look at the votes, Harden got some votes. So I'm not the only one who thought this. Yes, Lenny, I agree with you that AD can defend the perimeter and the interior, but no, Klay's not on my list. Like, who are you gonna take off for Klay? If you can tell me who you're gonna take off for Klay, then like cool. And that's like no slight to Klay. Like Klay's a very good defender, but I think PJ Tucker's a better defender than Klay. I think Lonzo, when he's healthy and actually on the court, is a better defender than Klay. I think Klay's good. I think Klay's really good. I wouldn't consider him an elite defender, but I think Klay's really good. Like just because I don't have him on this list does not mean that I think he sucks. Klay did not lock up Kawhi in the finals. Lock up is the wrong word. Also, Kawhi was hurting in the finals. Also, Kawhi averaged 30. Now, granted, I think that 30 that he had was a little bit misleading. I don't think that that 30 always impacted the game the way you would think 30 points would say, but still, the man still did average 30. So how did he get locked up? Who locked him up? I can tell you one possession in which Klay played great defense that stuck out in my mind. It was Game 5. But I think that Kawhi more so rushed a bad shot than Klay just played some marvelous lockdown defense. That was the possession when Toronto was going on that run, and Nick Nurse called that timeout, and they came back out of the timeout, and like Kawhi got the little rip through foul on Draymond, and then the next play, I think Kawhi tried some like stupid fadeaway shot and airball. I don't know if that was so much of Klay played great defense or if Kawhi just rushed and took a shot that he didn't have to take. So no, Klay is not on my top 5 list. For those of you guys who are just now joining me, my top 5 is number 1, Kawhi Leonard, number 2, Paul George, number 3, Jrue Holiday, number 4, Marcus Smart, number 5, Patrick Beverley, with an honorable mention of Lonzo Ball. So I'm on here for a couple more minutes. I got to get up and go to the Sparks game in a second. But anybody got any more questions or any more things you want to talk about, drop them in the chat. I'm here to talk for a couple more minutes. Like I said, I got to go cover the Sparks. Sparks play the Atlanta Dream tonight. I think it's on ESPN3. Make sure you guys check that out. As it sits right now, the Sparks are at, I think, 4th in the WNBA. The playoffs will be starting next week. So please, guys, make sure you check out playoff WNBA basketball. But come on, drop some more stuff in the chat. Let's discuss some more things. Yeah, I'm on here for, maybe another minute or two. So yeah, drop some more things in the chat. Now, if I was talking about top 5 overall defenders, that list, I will probably have to go with uh Kawhi Leonard, um, Draymond Green, Gobert. Even though he can't really guard on the perimeter, what he does in the paint is so um, 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 impactful that I can't really um, overlook that. So Kawhi Leonard, Draymond Green, Gobert, um, uh, Anthony Davis. I'm actually put AD in my overall defenders. Overall defenders, I'll put AD in there. And number 5, man, um, Paul George slash PJ Tucker. Paul George slash PJ Tucker. Again, like so much of defense is communication, and the one thing when you watch a Rockets game, you can never not hear Tuck communicating. And I think that Tuck is like the middle, the same thing that Harden is for that offense, PJ Tucker is for that defense. So my top 5 overall defenders in the NBA would be Kawhi Leonard, Draymond Green, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, and PJ Tucker slash Paul George. Do I think Zubac would be a good defender? Yes, I think Zubac would be a solid defender. I mean, I don't think he'll be on any all defensive teams, but I do think that Zubac is a big body, can hold his plays, can block some shots, and he can just be a force and be a presence. Especially on his Clippers team, it's not like he's gonna have to overexert himself too much. He can really just, focus on playing his round, playing his matchup, and just cleaning up what people bring him. I mean, you gotta think like you don't play defense by yourself. You got Patrick Beverley, you got Patrick Beverley, you got Paul George, you got Kawhi Leonard, you got maybe Iggy if they sign Iggy. You got Mo Harkless. You got all these. Even Landry Shamet is a good defender. You got all these guys in front of you, and you don't have to really do too much besides get to the spot you're supposed to get to, put your hands up, and that's pretty much it. And not foul. Just be a big body and be a presence. So I think that, yeah, Zubac can be a very solid defender. Again, I don't think that he's going to come out here and turn into Marcus Gasol defensively, but I do think he can be a very, very solid defender. So, yeah. Said PJ Tucker has slow footwork. I disagree. I think that PJ Tucker has solid footwork. I mean, I think he might get beat off the dribble sometimes, but by the elite guards who beat everyone off the dribble. Yeah, again, I love Tuck. You're not going to get me to say nothing bad about Tuck defensively. Again, I think that same thing, like I said, I think that same thing for Harden. Tucker is the same thing for that defense. Great defenders can switch, yes, but I also think switching is overrated, and I think too many teams give up the switch when they shouldn't. I think that sometimes you just fight over the screen and play your man. I hate to see too many times in which teams don't even get picked and they have people switching. I think switching is a very effective tool, but sometimes I think people switch a little bit too much and do it when they don't need to. But that's been Pavy's Daily Takes. That was my top 5 perimeter defenders. I got to get ready to go to the game. So I'll talk to you guys later and holler at you guys. Pavy's Daily Takes. Appreciate you guys for watching.